Tanager Place and the Meraki Institute of Learning proudly present the Rise, Wellness, and Resilience series, centered on resilient parenting, cultivating your child's resilience. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, hi, I'm Tanya, and this show is an 11-part series digging deep into the Rise framework, covering the 4 core pieces of Rise, Wellness, and Resilience. This includes, first, R, relationships, how relationships and experience influence a child's resilience. Secondly, I, indicators of well-being, how we integrate research-informed elements to enhance the well-being of children. Third, S, social-emotional development, how we can increase the emotional intelligence of children through everyday interactions. And lastly, E, enhancements, how we can interconnect the whole child to offer the greatest opportunity for wellness and resilience. When we cultivate a child's wellness and resilience, we offer a bright place for children to rise. Rise through difficulty, rise through struggle, rise with the means to manage, restore, and grow. So, as a wife, mother, aunt, sister, daughter, and friend to many parents, I am thankful you are joining on this learning journey with me. For today's topic, we are covering the U intervention, one of the elements within the relationships part of the Rise, Wellness, and Resilience framework. You'll be hearing from Maggie Hartzler, Program Manager at Tanager Place's school-based program. Welcome, Maggie.
Thanks so much for having me.
Maggie, you're joining us today as a mother, a therapist, a wife with a passion for kids and families. You come with a lot of expertise as it relates to wellness and resilience in kids' mental health. So tell me a little bit about the U intervention. What does this mean for parents who are looking to cultivate this in their children?
Yeah, so the U intervention is really the concept that the relationship that we have with our kids is the foundation of building resilience and wellness for kids. And it's also the framework of building resilience and wellness across the lifespan.
So Maggie, a lot of parents, caregivers, educators are probably listening in to find specific interventions that they can do with their children. What would you say to them?
Oh, I would say, man, yeah, wouldn't it be great if we had like a playbook or like a set of instructions on how to parent our kids, but kids do not come with a playbook and they do not come with a set of instructions. And so what I would say to them is really that every kid is different. And so I think about my own 3 children, and I know that the things that help my 3 kids feel calm or feel soothed are very different between the 3 of them. The things that motivate my 3 kids are very different between the 3 of them. The things that upset them are very different between the 3 of them. But what's not different is the importance of the relationship that I have with them and the way that they feel in connection with me and the way that they feel safe with me and nurtured by me and by their father. And so that's what really matters and what's really important. And so when I think about an intervention, really the intervention is the relationship that I have with them.
The U intervention.
Exactly.
Maggie, I'm thankful that you say that there's no playbook on how to do this. I've searched for it for many years because I know it's so hard to know exactly what to do in scenarios and what to do with the different moods and what to do with the tantrums. But what I hear you saying is the U intervention, me showing up, my relationship is oftentimes the biggest intervention that's needed. So you mentioned that our relationships have the power to create the foundation for future relationships. What does this look like? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so when I think about that, I think really our relationship with our kids sort of like sets the tone for their other relationships and for their relationships as they grow. And so an example I have for this is really our daycare provider shared a story with me about my middle child, and she had asked him to grab a bottle for the baby just to kind of help her out. And he just, without thinking, grabbed the bottle, handed it to her and said, "Sure thing, babe." And just when she told me that, because she got such a kick out of it, I thought that was so funny. But really, I went back to all of the times where I've filled up his milk cup, or I've grabbed him a snack, or I've covered him up at bedtime. And my response is often, when he asks for those things, "Sure thing, babe." And he just sort of has parroted it and mimicked it. And when I think about that, I think about he has learned how do we respond to somebody asking for help or asking for assistance, and that has been something that I've laid some foundation and some groundwork for. Now, conversely, I don't always respond with, sure thing, babe. Sometimes I respond with, oh my goodness, we need to get out of here. We are running so late. Are you kidding me right now? And so there's also times in frustration or stress when my kids will repeat phrases like that of, are you kidding me right now? And so I think when you think about the U intervention, it's really being really intentional about how do you want their relationships to look in the future, and how can you start to lay some of that groundwork using our relationship to set the tone for the relationships that they'll have with others.
Yeah, so like essentially the way that we're interacting with them, the way that we are using our responses and us as parents, the being of us is the way in which it helps them develop throughout life. So Maggie, how do you use your relationship to start to build that strong foundation that we all want for our children? I think that's the question many parents or caregivers watching really want to know.
Yeah, and so when I think about really how do we do this, the most important piece is probably this word called attunement, right? And what that means is really like being in connection and paying attention to what your kid is experiencing and what they're feeling, and really validating for them that you see and you are paying attention to how they're feeling and how they're experiencing the world. That is such an important message for kids to get, that the people around them are understanding their feelings and understanding their perspective on what's happening. And so being able to say to them, you seem really, really upset right now. Let's do some things to help you feel better. Or what can we do to help you feel better? Or things like, you really wanted that toy from your brother and you took it, and now your brother is sad and he feels upset. And so kind of walking through problem solving with kids, talking about feelings, really paying attention to where your kids are at and then responding accordingly. That's attunement, and that's really using that you intervention, that relationship that you have with them to help foster that resilience.
Such a powerful concept, Maggie, the you intervention, how we use our interactions, our relationship, not any magical thing, not going necessarily in and having to buy the perfect gift or have the perfect book to tell me the exact things, but showing up, paying attention, trying to identify what their needs are and respond in the moment the best we can. When we come back, Maggie, what I really want to take a diver deep in is how we look at ourselves as parents, because I love this concept, and I know for me as a parent that showing up and doing this 100% of the time is impossible. I have so much of my own irritation or frustration or also my own feelings. So as parents, how do we really look at enhancing the U intervention through maybe understanding ourselves, our own childhood? I'm sure there's something there.
Definitely.
More to come when we come back.
Tanager Place is here for children, teens, young adults, and families as they navigate the many stressors of the world today. Tanager inspires, empowers, and heals by providing tools and support needed to navigate the hardships of life and overcome obstacles. Our expertise and specialty trainings offer a wide range of approaches, and we'll join alongside you to create solutions to enhance your wellness. We are here for you and your family, virtually or in person. Tanager Place, your child, our focus.
No matter the challenges you and your family face, Tanager Place is here for you. Our team of specialists in mental, emotional, behavioral, and social health want to join alongside you during these tough times. Tanager will offer the tools needed to inspire, empower, and heal while providing the support you need to build the strongest foundation for success and wellness. We'll meet you wherever you are in your journey and together define a path to reach your goals. Together we rise. Tanager Place, your child, our focus.
Maggie, we just learned about the U intervention. Now let's dive into this idea that in order to have the healthiest relationship we can with our children, knowing ourselves is key. I'm going to say that one more time. Knowing ourselves is key. No one told me this as a parent. This was such an important piece that I learned when stuff for me came up through parenting. So having almost that level of insight into my preferences, my personality style, my own upbringing can truly, I'm guessing, unlock this greatest potential as a parent. So give us some examples of the things that come up in our relationship with our kids and how we know that this is our stuff.
Yeah, wow, this is probably the heaviest part of it, is really knowing our stuff, because we have like this lifetime of stuff that has happened to us, and that has shaped who we are and how we are in relationships with other people. And so just the same way that we are helping to shape the relationships that our kids are going to form in their future, our parents and our caregivers have helped to shape how we are in relationship. And some of that is for the better and for more resilient pieces of us, and some of that is for the parts of us that really still need healing and still need work and still need attention and nurturance. And so really paying attention to some of the things that maybe in our own childhood were hard and were scary, or were not handled the way that were the most resilient, most adaptive, most nurturing ways. And so paying attention to some of that. I think also paying attention to what are our values, right? And what are our values as a parent? What are our values as for our families? And when are there times where our kids do things or say things that are so in contrast or contradiction to our values that it just sort of gets under our skin and rubs us the wrong way? You know, an example of this is if you have a value of hardworking and responsibility, and those things are really important to you, but you have a kid who hates to unload the dishwasher, that might be really just getting at you just the right way, pushing those right buttons. And thinking about how do we manage some of those things that feel really important and heavy to us without hurting the relationship that we have with our kids, and still honoring their feelings and where they're coming from.
Absolutely, Maggie. It does bother you. It bothers me. You know, I have, my husband and I joke, a subset of values, and kids don't always show that because developmentally they may not be ready, but it's so important for me to know that because it bothers me.
Totally, totally.
So Maggie, how do we know in the moment that our stuff is coming up? What would that feel like, look like?
Yeah, I think a lot of times our bodies are telling us when our stuff is coming up, and it's a skill to be able to pay attention to our bodies and listen to our bodies and know when some of that stuff is coming up. I think also another thing that's really helpful is paying attention to the story that's running through your head and the story that you're telling yourself. So Dr. Brene Brown actually talks about the story that we're telling ourselves. And for me, one of the things that I've noticed with my youngest is when I'm trying to get her to go to sleep, which can take forever, so long, the story that starts to run through my head sometimes is, this is never going to work. She is never going to sleep. I'm going to always be left back in this room trying to put this baby to sleep, and my husband's probably enjoying ice cream in the kitchen by himself. And so I get frustrated and irritated, and she feeds off of that energy. And so when I start to notice my story as being one of like defeat and failure as a mother, I instead shift it to, this baby will fall asleep. She falls asleep every single night. It will happen again tonight. And just start to tell myself some more adaptive stories, including my husband will probably save some ice cream for me.
I love this, Maggie, because I never really thought of that concept, but when you were talking, it really brought up when you talked about values, that sometimes when my kids' behavior isn't in alignment with what our family values are, my story is like, I must be failing as a parent.
Totally.
Like, I am totally messing this up. Otherwise, they wouldn't be acting like this.
Yeah, and the world tells us, right, what it looks like to be a good parent, and sometimes we have to challenge that story and that narrative for ourselves of what does it really mean to be a good parent. Sometimes it just means being present with our kids.
So the you intervention, and take the story of that away and say, Tanya, just be present, show up.
Yes, 100%.
The behavior in the moment won't be the lifetime of who they are.
Yes.
So Maggie, with that said, what's the best way to dive into some of our own stuff?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to do that, and there's lots of different resources you could use. One of my favorite ones that I recommend to most people who are becoming new parents or who are new therapists with us or our teachers is a book by Dr. Dan Siegel called Parenting from the Inside Out. That's one of my favorite ones to really get at what is the stuff that I'm bringing in from my childhood and from the way that I was raised into my relationship with kids. And that's helpful for not just parents, but for anybody who's working with kids. I think also Dr. Brene Brown, I referenced her already, she is just magnificent to really look at some of our own shame and some of our own stuff that we carry into relationships and how do we heal some of that and grow through some of that. I think also journaling can be such a powerful way to kind of explore our own stuff, like letting our brain do a little bit of creative writing and working around what have my experiences been, what have my feelings been, just from day to day or even from the past. And so some of those things can be really helpful to explore your own stuff.
I'm guessing there are other ways for me to understand myself a little bit. Like, are there personality tests? Are there anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of different things you can use, like a Myers-Briggs personality test, or looking at your values again, going back to like a colors personality. You can Google all of these different things to really just, and they're fun too, to take these personality tests and look at what those things say about you and how much that resonates with you. And then thinking about, where does that come from for me? Where did that first start? And really doing some exploring around your own history through some of those lenses.
I can only imagine too that understanding those things about me and then seeing my child who is a different being than me, right? If I'm a huge introvert and my child is this huge extrovert, these things give me insight as to our relationship and how we can navigate that relationship and the U intervention in the healthiest way possible.
100%.
Wow, this is such amazing information, Maggie. I'm so thankful that you've come to talk to us about this. What I'm excited to continue to learn about is paying attention to who I am and what influenced me as a parent. When we come back, let's dive into the humanness of parenting, the thing that we often don't talk about but is vital for parents.
No matter the challenges you and your family face, Tanager Place is here for you. Our team of specialists in mental, emotional, behavioral, and social health want to join alongside you during these tough times. Tanager will offer the tools needed to inspire, empower, and heal while providing the support you need to build the strongest foundation for success and wellness. We'll meet you wherever you are in your journey and together define a path to reach your goals. Together we rise. Tanager Place, your child, our focus.
Tanager Place is here for children, teens, young adults, and families as they navigate the many stressors of the world today. Tanager inspires, empowers, and heals by providing tools and support needed to navigate the hardships of life and overcome obstacles. Our expertise and specialty trainings offer a wide range of approaches, and we'll join alongside you to create solutions to enhance your wellness. We are here for you and your family, virtually or in person. Tanager Place, your child, our focus.
Maggie, so much good information for parents really wanting to focus on how to be self-aware and understand who they show up as every day as parents. And there is a reality that we often don't talk about, but so incredibly important to talk about: messing up. Parenting is hard. I mess up way more often than I would like to admit to. So what do I do when I lose my cool?
Is such an important piece of the U intervention, right? Because yeah, we are all going to mess up. We are human, our children are human, humans are messy, and we aren't perfect at all. And so I just think the most important part is doing this repair work and having that be really a foundational piece of your relationship with kids, so that when you mess up, you do the work of saying, I'm sorry, I'm owning this, and I'm gonna work to do better in the future.
So I think about when I'm yelling, right? That can happen in my house a lot. And so when I take a deep breath, I can go back and say, Mommy yelled. I'm sorry. I was so frustrated and Mommy should have taken deep breaths. That's the whole part of the U intervention, that it's not about being perfect. It's about how we navigate through the hard stuff.
100%.
Well, that is encouraging. We don't have to be perfect. Woo! So knowing that, what does that look like to do that work of repair?
Yeah, so for me, really the first most important step is to regulate myself, because oftentimes when I need to repair, it's because I've lost my cool and I'm no longer regulated. So before I do anything, I really want to try and take a deep breath, or do some sort of mantra or affirmation that just gets me back grounded in a space where I can be engaging in a more healthy, adaptive, calm, cool, collected kind of way. And so for me in my house and in my world, I usually lose my cool when it's time to go, like to work. And so my brain is thinking of all the things I have to do, all of the things that are on my to-do list, and how I really need to get out the door and my kids are not moving very quickly. And so a lot of times for me, it's like before I get in the car after a rough morning, I take a big deep breath, and then I get in and then I say, I am so sorry that I used such a grouchy voice this morning. I'm so sorry that I yelled. When Mommy is frustrated, you still deserve to be talked to nicely. And so kind of setting the tone for when things are hard, I still should talk in a certain way. And so then I'll also do things like, I'm gonna take a big deep breath. Do you guys wanna take a big deep breath with me? So I start to model for them in that moment. Whew, okay, I feel like my brain got some more oxygen. I can make some better choices. I can use some better voice tones. So I also in those moments want to acknowledge their feelings. So sometimes when I've lost my cool, they feel scared. They feel, sad that I've been so upset with them or overwhelmed and not handled it very well. And so in those moments, my kids might feel sad or scared that I yelled or that I used a grouchy voice. But in our world, it's really normal for us to say sorry. And so if I apologize, most of the time they'll acknowledge and say, I forgive you, Mommy, or thanks for saying sorry. Every now and then, though, they say, that really hurt my feelings, or I was really scared, and then, like that mom guilt can come in. But then we talk through that, right? And I acknowledge, I'm so sorry that you felt scared. It is scary when Mommy yells, and it's not very nice when Mommy yells, and I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to work on taking my deep breaths so that you don't have to feel scared.
I love that. One of the other elements that I think of with resilience is this feeling of control. And so I've heard some parents talk about saying, how can Mommy make this better? Or what can we do to make this better tomorrow morning? And almost setting up that stage for we're a team,
yes.
Right? Because you also weren't getting your boots on.
Exactly.
And that won't perfectly change tomorrow, but how do we figure this out so that our dynamic can be better as we move forward?
And I love that idea of a team because that really does give this sense of like, I do have control over my world and over the things that matter here, and we're part of this together.
Maggie, now knowing that we all mess up and doing the repair with our kids is great, but since this is the you intervention, can you talk a little bit about how you take care of yourself during the messy parts?
Yeah, so the messy parts as a parent are just so hard, and I think a lot of times we're actually harder on ourselves than our kids are on us. Kids really want things to feel right in their world, and so especially when kids are young, they're pretty quick to forgive. Now, my kids are young, and I know that I probably have a future of silent treatment and long-held grudges, but for the most part, really, kids want things to feel right in their world. So it's kind of like giving ourselves the grace that our kids give us. And allowing ourselves to forgive ourselves. I think another piece that's really important is to talk with people who are in this with you about the hard, messy parts. I know for me, talking with my husband about, oh my gosh, I just really lost my cool with the kids this morning, and he can normalize and validate that for me. And my sister is a parent as well, and so we talk about the hard, messy parts and the yucky parts and the failures and the funny parts. And so having that source of support to kind of work through with somebody else who can be honest with you about the hard parts and share their own hard parts so that you don't feel so alone in it.
Yeah, essentially your village of people who say, yeah, you're right, this is hard, and I mess up a lot too.
For sure.
Maggie, a lot of great information, and also, to be honest, a sense of relief, knowing that we're human, that parenting is hard, but every moment we can adjust, and I'm not ruining my kids in the moments of struggle. If there were key things, maybe 1 to 2 things, that you wanted parents, caregivers, grandparents, whoever is listening to walk away knowing, what would they be?
I think the biggest thing to walk away is that this sense of power, right, to really influence and give your kids some really beautiful gifts just through the relationship that you have with them. The other thing that I would say is that it's never too late to start doing some of this stuff. So if your kid is 55 or 5, you still have the capacity to use your relationship to do healing, to do some nurturing, and to take care of each other. So that would be the biggest thing I would want people to walk away with.
Maggie, thank you so much for being here with us today and for sharing your expertise.
Of course.
Tanager Place is here for children, teens, young adults, and families as they navigate the many stressors of the world today. Tanager inspires, empowers, and heals by providing tools and support needed to navigate the hardships of life and overcome obstacles. Our expertise and specialty trainings offer a wide range of approaches, and we'll join alongside you to create solutions to enhance your wellness. We are here for you and your family, virtually or in person. Tanager Place, your child, our focus.
Thank you for staying tuned in with us. We got to learn some amazing things from Maggie, who comes to us with a lot of wisdom and knowledge as it relates to the U intervention with the RISE Wellness and Resilience Framework. We wanted to take a couple extra minutes to talk about some specific self-assessments you can do to help you along your growth journey as you take a deep look into yourself and how your relationship with the youth in your life can be cultivated into that of offering wellness and resilience. One of my favorite self-assessments is love languages, and I actually love doing this with kids as well. This is such a helpful self-assessment as we look at then what are the ways in which we demonstrate love, but ways we also prefer to be loved. I have a kiddo that number 1 love language, my guess, is gifts, and my number 5 love language is gifts. So I have a good friend whose number 1 love language is gifts, and she talks to me often about ways that I can give little trinkets or toys or a little note that says I was thinking about you, or I saw this and it made me think of wanting to get this for you. So it's just ways that we can deepen that connection with the kids in our lives. The other self-assessment you can do is Myers-Briggs. There's a free self-assessment for this on Google if you just type in 16 personalities, but you can learn all about the way in which you orient your characteristics. This could be all the way from being introverted to extroverted, to being judging versus perceiving, thinking versus feeling. But this helps us have a deeper understanding of who we are in relationships, and if our kids demonstrate different characteristics, ways that we can be intentional around that connection. Another one is Gallup Strength Finders. This one will cost you $20, but it will give you a list of your top 5 strengths and how you can utilize those strengths. Another one is doing just a simple values inventory. What values are important to you? What values are important to your family? And what values do you want to instill in the children in your lives? And then being curious when perhaps your kiddo doesn't demonstrate that value, how you can connect back to that in a way that helps you feel a deeper level of connection. Another is conflict styles. This is a fun one because we all orient differently within how we manage conflict. If we're a type of person who wants to avoid conflict, but our teenager loves to argue, we may have to talk about some shared norms around how we manage conflict, our communication styles, and the best way for us to navigate different ways in which we like to hear information and give information. Please know that you can go out to Google and find a lot of these resources for free. There's a lot of parenting experts out there that can link you to these resources. But all of these resources can help you take a deeper dive into yourself, being curious about who you are and who you show up as in the relationships with the kids in your lives. As always, thanks for being a bright place for the many youth in your life.
No matter the challenges you and your family face, Tanager Place is here for you. Our team of specialists in mental, emotional, behavioral, and social health want to join alongside you during these tough times. Tanager will offer the tools needed to inspire, empower, and heal while providing the support you need to build the strongest foundation for success and wellness. We'll meet you wherever you are in your journey and together define a path to reach your goals. Together we rise. Tanager Place, your child, our focus.
Thank you for being with us and taking time out of your day to learn alongside us in order to offer a bright place for the children in your lives to rise. Today's series brought to you by Tanager Place and the Meraki Institute of Learning. For more information, please visit our website at www.tanagerplace.org.